Hey, Gavax here. Today I want to talk about a few things that I think, I'd like to see patched or fixed in MLB The Show. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments about things that maybe you've noticed wanting to be patched or fixed yourselves, because this is kind of like a discussion. Obviously, my opinion won't be the same as your opinion or anybody else's opinion, but here it is. Let's just go through what I think the issues in the game right now is. And overall, I think it's a good game. One of the better sports titles, but there are some particular issues that I think really hold it back from achieving that next level. And it does get really frustrating at times to see these issues play out, and it does make me rage. But here we are. So, first one, biggest one, fielding. I think there's a lot of issues with outfielders not locking onto the balls. We all have been there. We all have experienced it. I know some people are, defending SDS and saying, oh, it's just your fault, user input, whatever. But no, it happens, especially around the wall. For some reason, that causes a little bit more issues there. So fielding there, there's some other wonky stuff. Sometimes when you're kind of like over the ball, you don't field it as well. That's not as bad this year as it has been in past years. I think I like the emphasis on fielding this year and how better fielders definitely are needed. I love that part of the game. I love that they made it important. So just minor tweaks. I don't want like back to JD Martinez being able to play almost as well as say like Ichiro out there. So I do appreciate that fielding definitely matters this year. I think there's a huge improvement on last year. But just a few minor issues with fielding. Let me know what other ones you got. I think pass balls happen too much too with catchers. Even like Ivan Rodriguez, I've seen, get the ball past them quite a bit, and just a couple of balls like in the dirt, like in real life, like you just knock it down and throw the runner out if it is in the dirt. So that's happening too much no matter your blocking rating, and I think that's an issue. I think running, it's affected. It's kind of crappy, especially with lag. Sometimes the L1, the L and R1 button running really needs to be tuned up. It doesn't seem to respond or go where you want to go, and sometimes it just goes past the bag that you want to go to. So that's frustrating. So the responsiveness of the runners definitely needs to be fixed. I'm sure you guys have seen that. I've gotten frustrated a few times and yelled at the game for a guy going further than the base than I wanted him to, not stopping or not going. Sometimes they slide into the base when they really could have just kind of like just stood there and then gone. So like they take a while to get up, then go. So running needs to be tuned up a little bit, patched a little bit in my mind. Batting. So I think the biggest issue with batting is good inputs aren't rewarded enough. Like a lot of people say late swings, whatever. And late swings, that stuff happens in the major leagues. I feel like the biggest issue is like when you center square something, it doesn't go out of the park. Like when you with the best power hitters of all time, I think they need to be hitting more home runs than they are currently. Home run per 9 stat, if that's the issue, that might be worth looking into. I'm sure they are looking into that. But basically, good squared up needs to drop at a better rate than it currently does. I want ideally the game to match real life numbers. So like if the ball's hit over 105 miles per hour, I think it's on like a line drive, I think it just lands like 70% of the time. Right now it feels like it lands like 45% of the time. Now so it does land, but it doesn't seem to reward us enough, and it doesn't get enough like loft sometimes with these power hitters, and they don't go out of the park at high levels. I think All-Star and below is fine. This is for Hall of Fame and Legend feedback right there. Hall of Fame and Legend, there's not enough of that good squared up reward in my opinion. But I think All-Star doesn't need to be really touched. And that's tough. I think maybe one thing going forward that they maybe want to look at for online play is to switch everything to one difficulty level all throughout. In my opinion, I think with a few minor tweaks I'm going to talk about with fielding, hitting with that squared upness, some adjustments. I think Hall of Fame would be the appropriate level to make it all throughout. It might make it a little tougher in the lower levels, maybe all the way up through say 500 you could do an All-Star. I know they do veteran at the really low end, maybe. I don't know about that, but it would be nicer to kind of see more consistent play for moving up through the 600s through 900s. Legend, I don't know. I think some players on Legends like it. Other people, just the way the game plays right now in Legend is tough. But I haven't played. I just heard that feedback. I've only gotten to World Series. I got to World Series in Season 1. Literally didn't play a game on Legend because I didn't want to. I've seen it. I watched other people play it, and it just wasn't for me. So I guess I should have got some first-hand experience on that, but I didn't. But yeah, the perfect lineup. Like it does seem like, especially with the speed everybody's got in their outfield now, it seems like balls find gloves too often and don't drop enough. Whether it's the size of the outfield, like the models, they move too fast, or it's not big enough. There's something wrong, and the ball doesn't drop as much. Feels a little bit like 18 right now. I was really disappointed when I saw that they patched the game and changed the hitting. I think it was 1.06. Ramon mentioned it, but it wasn't in the notes, which was very seriously frustrating to see they're not communicating all the changes and the patches to us. So they tested all off season with a patch. It was without the patch. They tested all off season. They brought in guys. They had the beta. They had community feedback. Hitting was fine, and then they still patched it anyways. I really wanted them to wait a little bit longer for that patch before they really kind of rolled out gameplay changes, but they failed to do that, and that's very disappointing in my mind. So hopefully this next patch, I don't know. I guess don't roll back, but kind of hopefully look to fix some of the issues that we've seen. I think wind is a little bit too powerful. I think wind holds up balls too often from getting out of the park. That combined with the lowered mile per hour velocity or angle of the ball, I don't know what the home runs per 9 does, but it really knocks out a lot of balls back into the park. And so basically, like anytime the wind's blowing in on those high levels, it's gonna be like a 1-0 game. Like you won't be able to get any offense going, it feels like, unless they're really messing up. But generally at the high levels, you're playing pretty competent competition, so that won't happen very often. So it becomes 1-0 games consistently, and it's just frustrating to play. So knock down the wind power. I think it's too much. I don't know if that's an accurate statement, but it just feels like the wind is kind of like hurricane force, even at low mile per hours. Crowds are huge and causing lag right now. Crowds, for some reason, cause a little bit of frame skippage in major league stadiums. I've heard from some people it's been an issue for years. Noticed it this year. So the frame issue, maybe it goes along with lag too. There needs to be some optimization for performance. Of course, a lot of this stuff maybe will take longer than just one patch. So hopefully it's something they keep working on over the years. This next point that I'm going to make, and well, I'll get to that in a second. But like this maybe won't all be fixed in the next couple weeks. And of course that's understandable. It's a lot of work to do. But hopefully over the next year, this is just something to kind of look at for MLB The Show. Maybe, yeah, like, so crowdless stadiums would be an option. Maybe some say maybe like rain delay games or something to make it more realistic, to allow us to play in major league stadiums, or maybe like just a small amount of crowd, maybe like 1,000 people there in major league stadiums for that rain delay stadium. Might be worth it. I think that might actually improve the performance of the game and allow us to play at different parks. Like right now, currently, you either got to play in a dome to get rid of wind, or play at a minor league park to get rid of the crowd. And it's kind of like a Sophie's choice. Which one do you want to go for? Do you go for a minor league park and go with the 50-50 chance that the wind's either blowing in and killing you, or blowing out and helping you, or blowing side to side and not doing a whole lot of anything? So it feels bad, man. I hope that's something they can fix. And then one more thing that might take a little bit longer with pitching. I think they kind of need a little bit of an overhaul. Like I've touched on every single part of the game. Pitching, I feel like, it shouldn't max out at 99 miles per hour for a pitcher's pitch. I don't understand why that is the limit. You've gone over 100 stats for like a lot of other stats there with your per nines and whatnot. Why can't mile per hour? Like, why isn't Jordan Hicks sitting at 101? Why isn't that what a sinker is? Why is there certain like restrictions around what these guys are? Like, because guys do throw it over 99 miles per hour frequently. Chapman in his prime, like I talked about Hicks. So hopefully in the future they can do that, because I don't see why they wouldn't be able to make the ball go 102 as they already kind of do. It's just you just kind of got to go over 100. So maybe give an average fastball velocity over 99, or even sinker, even though I don't know how hard that would be. But otherwise, with like pitching too, like two-seamers don't move as much as they should. So two-seamers are almost useless. Like in real life, some guys have some really good two-seamers. And maybe this goes along with like taking out home runs per 9, or things affecting the ball once it comes out of the pitcher's hands. Because like once the pitcher releases it, outside of like spin rate, like what does it affect the ball coming off the bat? Like once it's out of the hand, right? Shouldn't it be like all based off location, velocity, break? So hopefully these are things they can look at going forward, and the way pitches break, because some of them are just unreal, and make two-seamers a little bit more impactful than they are right now. Because right now they're just kind of like slower four-seamers, and with the pitch speed online being so fast, slower four-seamers are kind of like, ooh, yummy. So two-seamers, it feels like cutters get hit pretty hard, but Bumgarner's got a pretty good cutter though. A little bit harder to hit than others. So that's kind of my feedback. What do you guys think about that feedback? What do you guys want for the future of Diamond Dynasty? What things do you think they fix gameplay-wise or otherwise? But that's it. Thanks for watching Call to Action. I'll see you tomorrow.